Right, welcome everybody. Raul Luna here on Sunday, as usual. Every Sunday we're live, and I want to welcome you. To spend a few minutes here with me. I got a question for you. Do you believe that interest rates are going to go negative? Go ahead and leave me a message down below because a few weeks ago I remember sharing with few people saying that interest rates were really going to go to zero. And as you could tell, and as you could see, if you've been watching what's been happening with the news, guess what? The Fed just announced that obviously they're down to zero. And I know that we're going through, we're going through a lot of different types of news from all over the place. It's very easy to get caught into distraction, doubt, fear, into panic mode. And I want to obviously take a little bit of time to share a few things that I think are critical, especially that is going to help all of us, the real estate in the real estate investing crowd, in the real estate investing world, and what is it that we should be focusing? What is it that we should have our mind basically wrapped around? But go ahead and answer the question. Do you think that interest rates are going to go negative? I think I said zero earlier on. So if I did, my apologies. Do you believe that interest rates are going to go negative? If you do believe that, leave me a message down below and let me know, why do you think they're gonna go negative? I think I'll give you my own opinion. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'll do it towards the end because I don't want to influence you. I don't want to influence you on whatever decision is it that you're going to do right now, right? But go ahead and leave me the message down below. Do you believe that interest rates are going to go negative? And if so, why? So what I want to be able to share with you today, ladies and gentlemen, is a little bit of my story back on 2008 when I went bankrupt, when I lost pretty much my shirt off. I lost houses. I lost properties. I basically lost cars, lost everything. Even my real estate license through a bad partnership that I had back then. And I can speak about it today loud and clear, and I don't have no filters whatsoever. And I will tell you obviously the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it seems like with all the news that we've been hearing right now and that we've been seeing in social media, there is definitely it feels like back in 2008, 2009, where there was like a black hole. Like I feel like there's like a tunnel right now that you don't see the light, right? And it's very easy to get caught into the negativity, get caught into the distraction, and go into panic mode. And I want to give you some ninja tips that is going to help you obviously navigate the uncharted waters. Like anybody else, we're looking to figure it out. But one of the things I will say is the following. Number one, do not panic. Do not be reactive. Make sure that you prepare instead of being panicked. Why? Because I'm running out of battery on this one. Make sure that you do not panic, because it's very easy for everybody just to feel like, what, there's gonna be an end. It's the end of the world. Some people feel like that, but I want to take you to moments in time where, remember the Y2K, where people were talking about, where I think the computers were not going to handle the year 2000, and that, the banks were not going to be, the bank accounts are going to go to zero, and everybody talking about all this stuff, and how many people actually took it so serious that they, some people even took their lives, because they thought that it was the end of the world. And guess what? Today, obviously, the coronavirus is creating all this turmoil, and we should be concerned. We should be careful with our health. We should be obviously paying attention, but don't panic, because this thing shall pass. And you'll see, few weeks, few months from now, hopefully, the faster the better. We're going to be talking about this, and how is it that we did it, how we overcome it, and how we became better. But I want to give you few ninja tips. And among those few ninja tips, number one is avoid the big, massive gatherings, or going like to, for instance, like Costco or Walmart or things like that to buy things. Go to smaller places, smaller stores, and that's one of the things. And I can tell you that's what we did. Make sure that you get your your fundamentals, your basic things that you're going to need at the house, because it will happen. When you study the big boys, when you study what's happening, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you this much, don't be surprised if, in the next week or two, we start hearing that nobody should be on the streets. And guess what? We're going to end up being stuck, right? But don't panic. It's part of it. It's part of the process. Few months ago, and maybe even a little bit longer, I was sharing with many people. I said, you know what? I think we're going to go to zero. I think interest rates are going to go to zero because of many things. I remember being last year, December 2019, I was in Las Vegas at an event, and one of the I think it was, and I forget his name so that I can give him proper credit, but he was mentioning how, the only route that we had was to go, that the interest rates were going to go down to zero. And it was interesting because oftentimes we couldn't believe it. Like in my head, I had already known, like, okay, the only route the only way that this thing is going to go, having an economy that has been under expansion for so long, the only way that it could go is really just down. Not only the economy, but the interest rates. Now, do you think it's going to go negative? Well, that's a subject that I'm going to give you an opinion on towards the end. So continuing with the tips, one, it's obviously go to smaller stores, make sure that you prepare. Someone that is prepared, okay, a person that is prepared is not worth by one, is worth by, to me, have you heard the saying that is worth by two? But to me, it's more like worth by 11 when you're actually taking precautions and being prepared. The second thing, it's challenges like this breeds opportunity. Everybody may be focused on the negativity, on the doubts, and on the uncertainty of what the future brings. Just understand one thing. If you are prepared, this is the times where we're going to be witnessing. Listen to what I'm about to say. We're going to be witnessing the biggest wealth transfer ever that we've ever seen, in our lifetime so far. And whoever gets prepared is going to be in the right side of the quadrant. Whoever is not prepared is going to obviously see the negative effects. And I'm talking economically, because I believe that more than the health aspect, there is something much bigger behind it. And what I mean is, I'm not saying that health is not important. I believe it's dramatically important. But I think at the same time that there's that all the news and everybody's overreacting so much, that are kind of highlighting the virus so much. But the biggest virus, honestly, besides, beyond the point that once we get basically rid of the virus, which we are, one way or the other, we are. Every time that there's been a virus, we have been, we have overcome it. This is not going to be no different, other than, yeah, there's more exposure to this virus than many other viruses. But guess what? This is the time to understand that we're going to see the biggest, transfer of wealth, ever, at least, that I'm aware of. And be ready. Just be ready for it. At the same time, so, one of the things is, at the same time, how can you get ready? Well, you can be ready by basically, making sure that you spot, properties out there on the market that, believe it or not, sellers are going to still need. Some of the sellers are going to be in need of selling rather quick. Okay. And guess what? You could be there at that time, at that point, and take, I wouldn't say, advantage, but take the opportunity that is going to happen. And it happened in 2008. How many families? I was one of them. I lost my shirt off. There were properties that I lost that somebody else, bought because, I was vulnerable at the time. And guess what? I obviously was in the wrong side of the quadrant. So because I was in the wrong side of the quadrant, there were other buyers that were in the right side of the quadrant. There were investors that were in the right side of the game, of the board game, and they took obviously the opportunity to create wealth. Well, it's coming. And we're basically here. I know that the Fed is making all these moves and changes, that it's letting me know right away that don't be surprised that we're going to go to negative interest rates. We've seen it, now in other places like Europe, and that could basically happen here as well. I think that's the direction that we're going. And once again, I'm not predicting I'm not predicting the market. I don't have a crystal ball, but let's be realistic about it. With how things came to be and how things are taking, basically how the pieces of the puzzle are becoming together, is loud and clear that we're going to have a blackout moment where nobody's going to be able to go out. And I'm not saying this to panic you or to put you into more fear. I'm sharing it because I've been, back in 2008 in the darkest moments, which became my brightest moments, because challenges will give you opportunities. I was reading a book, and I will share it with you. A few years ago, I read this book, Second Chance by Robert Kiyosaki, and it inspired me. It made me cry because this book touched my heart. Because back in 2008, when I lost everything, I felt that it was the end of the world. Today, I know that as long as we have health, as long as we keep our hunger, as long as we keep the right habits, as long as we have focused, obsessive, massive, consistent action, we're going to overcome it. And at the end of the tunnel, when we start seeing the light, we're going to be so happy and grateful because we became stronger, because we became wiser, because we were willing to do the unconventional. And instead of retracting, we were willing to accelerate. We were willing to really push forward. And guess what? When I read this book, I cried. And the reason why I cried is because all I wanted in life, it was a second chance. I wanted a second chance. And that second chance, everybody gets it. Some people even get third chances. Some people even get fourth chances. But in my case, because I was wiped out, I wanted it a second chance. And the only person that can give yourself a second chance, guess who it is? It's going to be you. But pay attention. Make sure that you prepare yourself, that you discipline yourself, that you work with yourself. Make sure that you use the time wisely. These are the moments to be productive instead of just, being around without specific goals. Yes, we got to take care of our health, and that's part of it, and we should. And we should avoid certain things that could hinder us and expose us to things that we, know it's going to hurt us. But at the same time, it's not the end of the world, okay? It's not the end of the world. Make sure that you don't get basically taken with the masses, because if the masses are, Warren Buffett said it best, and all I can tell you is that man knows something, about the economy. And he said the following words in the following phrase. He says, when people are greedy, be fearful. And guess what? In the past, probably 3-4 years, people have been very greedy, and that was the time to be fearful. And when people are fearful is the time to be greedy. He said it for a reason, and he didn't say it, a few days ago. He said it many years ago. And one of the things I can tell you, and this goes for me as well as I'm sharing it with you, pay attention, be prepared. Make sure that, that you're productive. Make sure that you're willing to give yourself a second chance. Make sure that, this is the time for you to reinvent yourself. This is the time to think, hey, have I saved money? Have I actually been disciplined on doing what's necessary, not what's comfortable? Am I willing to, be a creator, or and not wait for things to get created? Am I willing to adapt? Am I willing to change? Am I willing? What is it that I'm freaking willing to do that I've never done so that I can become who I have never become? And that's what I want to share with you. And to conclude here, I just want you to know one thing. I do believe that interest rates are going to go negative. And if they don't, well, so be it. But if they do, this is the time to use debt and to learn how powerful debt is. Because most of us, if we don't know how to use debt, you're going to miss the boat. Great debt, great debt, great debt can make you and can create wealth. Bad debt can break you and take you down. And it's really, what is it that you're buying and how well are you buying? All right. So anyways, I think you guys get the point. This is the time for being in debt mode, in, debt zone. This is the time, but you got to do it buying properties, buying real estate, correctly. You got to be more disciplined than never before. And one thing I will tell you, if you were disciplined in good times, I know you're going to be disciplined in great times. As long as you stay focused, obsessive, as long as you stay hungry. So if you don't have the good habits yet, hey, you don't got no time, my friend. This is the time to get your act right, or else you will miss the second chance. And get to see you next Sunday. Hopefully, by then we have more clarity as to, what direction is taken. But I was telling you all that, this is not for panicking. This is so that whoever is prepared has a second chance, and together we can empower, obviously, together, others, ourselves, our family, and help as many people as we can. All right. So congratulations. Get to see you next Sunday. Thank you.
Dijiste la batería.
Sí.